The following is a production of Stevenson Media. Sunrise. A symbol that a new day has begun. A new opportunity to build, to grow, or to start over. The sun will rise some nearly 30,000 times in the average person's lifespan. But how many of you taken the time to stop and appreciate? At Fair Dinkum Coffee Shop, we understand that sunrise is where dreams become reality, where champions begin their journey, and where a warm smile and a great cup of coffee can make the rest of your day. That's why every day we handcraft our coffee, from the roaster all the way to your cup. Why is it our mission to make you a great cup of coffee and put a smile on your face? Well, for us, that's like watching the sun come up. Fair Dinkum Coffee Shop. Make the best of your sunrise. Proudly serving Wimberley, Texas. Want to tip the host? Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Get a free Houston Sports State of the Union podcast t-shirt with a donation of $50 or more.
Following program is brought to you by Broke Ass Furniture, where it don't matter if you're broke, because so is the furniture. So get your broke ass down here and buy some furniture. If the Texans win the Super Bowl, you get your money back, but I'm taking the furniture back too. Dial 1-800-BROKE-AF and ask for Futon Frank. Broke Ass Furniture saves you money!
This is the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of Houston Sports Nation, Nick Stevenson.
My goodness, thank you so much. Please be seated. My fellow Houstonians, welcome to the Houston Sports State of the Union address for the week of May 5th. I am the self-appointed president of Houston Sports Nation, Nick Stevenson. As always, there are a million different things you could be doing tonight. You chose to spend a little bit of time with me, and I appreciate that. On tonight's show, we turned down for what? J.J. Watt continues to tease a comeback to the Houston Texans. The Houston Rockets are rumored to be in the hunt for a big-time piece. Jalen Green is being positioned by the media to compete with a very elite young star in the league for years to come. Do we agree with that assessment? We'll talk about it. And listen, I'm done bashing the Houston Astros. We got to start talking about moves that can help them get back on track, whether it's this season or seasons to come. We're going to check on the Astros score in a little bit to see if they held the lead for Ronel Blanco, who last time I checked, he had a 4-2 lead. We'll check on him a little bit, see if that held. I also want to take a look back at the recent Texans history so that we can really appreciate just how far they've come in a small amount of time. And I want to give my brother credit for that. What he asked me to do, he said, go watch a couple of speeches, post-game speeches from David Culley versus the post-game speech that we saw from D'Amico Ryans last season. I did that, and I would like to share it with you because I think you're going to be entertained. Also, Stephon Diggs tweeted that Houston should have warned him that if you miss an exit, in Houston that'll add 17 minutes to your trip. I want to ask you, the audience, what else should we have warned Stephon Diggs about before he came to H-Town? So that'll be the show for today. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get into it. Before we get started, though, I want to remind you guys that there are ways you can support the podcast. You're doing one of them right now. You're watching, you're listening. Hopefully right now you guys are hitting share. Hopefully you are hitting like, subscribe, follow if you haven't done so already on all of our social medias. Right now, the show is live streaming on Facebook. It is live streaming on YouTube. It is live streaming on Twitch and on X, the app formerly known as Twitter. So let all your friends know if they're Houston sports fans. As you can see here, there is a link to the tip jar. You can either use this QR code if you're watching or if you're listening. In the description of the show, you will find both a link to the tip jar and you will find the link tree for all of my social media and all places that you can find the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. In that description, there are also affiliate links to fan gear for the Houston teams, and there are affiliate links for podcast equipment, all of the equipment I use to bring you this wonderful show. You will find links to it in the description, and if you use those links to purchase either Houston Sports fan gear or the equipment for podcasting, I'm going to be able to tap into that change a little bit. So I very much appreciate that. And then lastly, sponsorship. If you're interested in sponsoring the Houston Sports State of the Union, if you would like to allow me to please represent your business, I would love to do so as well. And, full disclosure, it's going to help me grow my business as well. And it's all about networking. It's all about community. Speaking of community, I do have a really exciting announcement that I want to bring up later. But yeah, it's all about you guys. Once again, if it's not for you, I'm in this room talking to myself. So I appreciate so much everybody who's been supporting, everyone who listens, watches. Like I said, if you're enjoying it, the best thing you can do for me is just share, tell other people about it. So I really appreciate it. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with the state of the Houston Texans. Okay, once again, the Texans are the sweethearts, the darlings of the league. Everywhere you look, they're on national TV. They're being hyped and praised. CJ Stroud is all over the place. He's on all the podcasts. Him and Micah Parsons are talking mess back and forth because the Texans will be playing Dallas this season. You see Stephon Diggs for the time being. Everybody has nothing but nice things to say about him. And the Texans are really, really a lot of people's favorites to run roughshod over the league. Some people even have them as Super Bowl contenders. CJ Stroud, according to CBS Sports, is the 5th ranked quarterback in the league over reigning MVP Lamar Jackson. That's insane. I believe in CJ Stroud, and he had a great season last year, but it makes you a little bit nervous when they're crowning you ahead of the MVP already. So me personally, I've told you guys, I think we should hang back and see. But I definitely have seen a lot of people hyping up the Houston Texans. And you know who else has seen a lot of people hyping up the Houston Texans and can't help but make himself a part of the conversation? That would be Justin James, Bartholomew, Herbert, Jefferson Watt. Okay, I don't know if all of those names are actually his names, but J.J. Watt has definitely made himself a part of the conversation. Now listen, there's a few times he had his celebrity softball tournament not that long ago. So in his defense, he's being asked by a lot of media members, hey man, this team looks pretty good. How about a comeback? And when he gets asked the question, he's been giving a very vague answer of, I've told D'Amico, I'm ready, but only if he really, really needs me. Only in an emergency situation. And the fact that he's not closing the door on returning has everyone in a frenzy. Mostly the Houston media, but even the national media has been in a frenzy over the fact that J.J. Watt has not closed the door to not returning to the Houston Texans. I want to play a clip really quick. J.J. Watt was on the Pat McAfee show. He is on that show quite a bit, actually. Pat McAfee loves him some Houston Texans for somebody who's not supposed to be a Texans fan. He's openly an Indianapolis Colts fan, but he is really enamored with the Houston Texans. I want to play this clip, J.J. Watt's most recent visit on the Pat McAfee show. They talked about the possibility of J.J. Watt returning.
A lot of conversation.
Yeah.
Are you back? Is that what's taking place or what?
Yeah, it's a situation similar to the one we were just talking about, where you got to watch the full video for the context. I was asked about it. I told them the conversation D'Amico and I have had before, and I very clearly in that stated that they have no need or use for me whatsoever right now. They have a phenomenal defense built. They have a phenomenal team built. They're perfectly fine. It literally was last year and this year. If it came down to an absolute dire situation where they needed somebody to help out, I would do that. But that would be I don't think people fully understood like how much stuff would have to happen for that scenario to play itself out, and it's so highly unlikely.
What has to happen? What do you mean? How much?
I mean, I'm very comfortable and happy.
That's not the point.
So
That's not the question.
Yeah,
You're happy or not.
Say, what if, like, why not? We already thought of this. Coming out of that NRG Stadium tunnel. Oh, buddy. You got the Houston
unis?
Texans. Yeah, brand new uniforms with those cool H's on there. Yeah. Houston Texans flag on one hand, United States of America flag in the other. Burnley flag off the helmet.
Like a shark.
Running out.
Look at his face right now. Dude is loving this. Look at that smile. That is that $1 million J.J. Watt smile. He is eating this up. Let's keep going.
We got that Aaron Rodgers clip of him just with one flag. You got 3 flags with the Bulls in the back going crazy. We don't want Koa. Koa doesn't deserve to see that.
He just want his dad to do that?
Koa doesn't deserve to see that. That's what we're thinking.
This dude is cheesing. He's imagining what Pat is saying right now. Like, he's actually, in his mind, he is in this space.
No, I mean, the thought of it is obviously incredible. And trust me, like any athlete that's retired has always thought about, like, what would it be like? Man, that feeling is the best feeling in the world. But I think the thing, and the reason I had 12 and a half sacks my last year. Like, trust me, there's plenty of times where I'm like, you absolutely could have kept doing it. But the reason that I'm okay with everything, and the reason I'm so content with everything, is because no matter who you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter how great of an athlete you are, that day is coming no matter what. So I'm at peace and I'm comfortable looking back and knowing that my last year, I had my son, I had 12 and a half sacks, I had a great time, I accomplished a great career, and now the time has come to move on. So the only thing that you would ever come back for now is if the exact right situation happened where you had a chance to do something that you have never done before.
That's interesting. If you have an opportunity to do something that you've never done before. Well, I would say since 2011, the Houston Texans have not had this good of a chance of being a Super Bowl team. And there are much better chance of you doing something you've never done before, JJ, if you joined this team now while it's healthy and has all of its weapons. Because why on earth would you want to join the team? Let's say 4 defensive ends get hurt. Will Anderson's down. Danielle Hunter's down. Whoever's backing those guys up, everybody's down. Now you're going to come play for a team that has no shot? Why would you do that? If you say the only thing that could bring you back is an opportunity to do something you've never done before, that time is now, isn't it? Let me let him finish.
And that's the only scenario that would ever bring you out, because you also have to look at the opposite side of that and all the bad shit that can happen and all everything.
No,
beautiful.
Don't think about that.
And there comes the truth. Listen, J.J. Watt loves being in the spotlight, and I'm not trying to say that in a negative way. You saw the smile on his face. You saw he was thinking about coming out that tunnel. He remembers what that felt like. And he's a human being, man. As humble as a guy as he is, as nice as a guy as he is, there's no way in the world you could see J.J. Watt and you never thought for a second that he was eating up all that love. I mean, he was worshipped in this city. He still is. But I honestly think his heart is not in football. Working out, staying in shape, that's one thing. But the beating that you take week in, week out, in a now 17-game season, and if you guys remember, J.J. Watt has suffered some horrific injuries. He's torn his pectoral muscle that put him out for a season. He literally ripped his quad right off the bone. I mean, he's had some terrible injuries. Besides knee, ankle, busted nose, busted fingers, like, I don't think that man wants to put his body through that again. And I just don't think he wants to play. But I also think he doesn't want to come out of the spotlight. And what's the best way for him to stay in the spotlight? Because, look, man, as great of a person as he is, and yes, he's been a philanthropist. He's done all types of things for this city. He's a great guy. But without football, nobody knows who he is. Football is the reason all of the other great things about him have a spotlight put on them. So he deserves all the praise that he gets, but he knows there's no way that people are telling him how great he is without football. There's a lot of great people out there, but if you're not a superstar that everybody's paying attention to, a celebrity, famous, they're not going to know about those other things. Because look, J.J. Watt, if he wanted to, he could easily take a lesser role on this team, be in the rotation on that defensive line, play some D tackle. You guys forget, J.J. Watt moved all over the line. He played D tackle just like Aaron Donald and was just as dominant. He could easily do that. Come in on third down. But I don't think he wants to do it, man. I think if he really wanted to do it, he wouldn't pick this scenario. I mean, like I said, if 4 defensive ends go down in the season, this team has no shot. You're not winning the Super Bowl. And why would you even want to try to come back to that if you have no shot? Then you're going to put your body through all of that? For what? I think if he was really wanting to play football and really wanted a shot to win a Super Bowl, he'd come back now. But instead, he's giving this impossible scenario, that's realistically never going to happen. Like, knock on something really fast. The Texans aren't going to lose 4 or 5 defensive ends this year. And he knows that. But he also knows that if he flat out says, nope, I'm done, I'm not going to play again, then we don't get all the hoopla surrounding the possibility that J.J. Watt could come back. And you know what? D'Amico is calling his bluff.
He's ready. I got his number ready to go, just in case we need him. JJ, playing in his softball event this past weekend, it was fun to see all the guys. JJ looks good. He's in shape. He's ready to roll. So I may need to make that call. So I'm happy that that it's open from him. But JJ is an outstanding player, man. He's been an outstanding player for a long time in this league, and it's just I'm proud of him for what he's able to do in the community. Still reaching back, and the people that he's touched here in the city of Houston is outstanding to see the response and all the people that showed up to support him this past Saturday. So, man, really proud of JJ.
D'Amico, if I could ask you a quick question, under what circumstance would you, because he said call him only if you need him. But under what circumstances would you actually call?
I need him now. I need to make that call right now. Anytime you get, if JJ Watt's ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Coach said he needs you right now, JJ. He's calling your bluff. He said he needs you right now. Listen, man. Just like myself, I think D'Amico knows that JJ doesn't really want to play. But I also think he knows that he can't say I don't need JJ because he wants to keep Texans fans from crucifying him. Imagine if he said, nah, we're good. You know, JJ and I, we had our opportunity to win with this team. It's the young guy's turn now. I guarantee you there'd be some JJ stands who lost their minds if he ever said that. And people are probably going to jump me, you know, for insinuating that JJ is really only doing this to stay in the spotlight. But look, man, when you're JJ Watt is revered in this league and revered in this city. And there's no human being that could not enjoy that feeling. Hell, man, if I get 2 people tell me, hey, man, your podcast is really good, you can't tell me nothing after that. So, look, man, me personally, I think J.J. Watt should continue to be an ambassador for this team and ride off into the sunset to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And he'll be only the second Hall of Famer in Houston Texans history. But what do you guys think, man? What do you guys want J.J. back? Do you think this is just a distraction? Or is there anyone out there who agrees with me that just hang it up, JJ? Leave it to the young bucks. I don't know. Me personally, I just feel like that's what he should do. But speaking of distractions, I'd mentioned it earlier. CJ has been all over the place this offseason. The NBA Celebrity All-Star Game. Played in 2 celebrity softball tournaments. He's been on all the podcasts. He's been on the Pat McAfee show. Radio Row at the Super Bowl. He's gone on, like I said, Micah Parsons' podcast. He was on the, Bleacher Report? Bleacher Report draft show. He's been everywhere, man. Are we comfortable with that? Like, I don't think it's a problem, but I do know that if at the beginning of the season he comes out the gate struggling a little bit, some people might start asking the question, like, hey, bro, maybe you were doing a little too much in the offseason. I'm not saying that, but if he comes out struggling, that could be a discussion. To his credit, he's also done a lot of football-related activities. He's gone and thrown with his receivers down there in Southern California. And he has been front and center during all the team's off-season workouts. According to reports from the GM, like everybody's shown up to all the off-season stuff. So it may not be a thing, but it also might be something to keep an eye on. Who knows? Alrighty, let's go ahead and do the state of the Houston Astros. Okay, after a promising series win against the Guardians and a Game 1 win versus the Mariners, it was all downhill from there. No one in Houston. Okay, let me step back a little bit. It was downhill from there, starting with back-to-back losses to the Seattle Mariners, and then a blowout loss to the New York Yankees. Now, the last I checked, because there is an Astros game happening right now, I believe it's still going. We'll see. The last I checked, Ronel Blanco had a 4-2 lead in the bottom of the 5th. And as I check the score now, 4-3, middle of the 9th. And Hader's in the game. So we watch with bated breath. Is Hader going to be able to get the save? Let me just say this. I know that there's no Astros fans. You may be watching the game right now. You may be tuned in to this show while watching. I don't think there's a single Astros fan who can say that they're confident that Hader's going to save this game with a 1-run lead. Because the Astros' problems are no longer an aberration. They're a trend. The Astros are who they have proven themselves to be. And they've struggled starting pitching, bullpens really struggled, not timely hitting, lots of blunders running the bases, not great defense at first base. This is what the team is now. And the question is, should we really be surprised by that? Let me see if I can find it. This tweet was sent to me from my buddy Brian Smith, who he loves to talk Astros, and he's contributed a lot of helpful information to me. And the tweet is from Ben Dubose, who works on Sports Talk 790. I believe he's also a part of several Houston sports blogs, vlogs, and websites. But he says on the Astros, again, the date I keep going back to is June 6th. From that date forward, including 2023 regular season, postseason, and start of 2024, the Astros are 72-76. That's a .486 win percentage. And that is a sub-79 win pace from a sample of 148 games, almost a full season. So it's not as if things suddenly flipped when the calendar hit 2024. Sure, they've been worse than they should be this year for a few reasons, luck included. But the truth is more unsettling. They've been a fairly mediocre team with similar problems for a while. The spectacular collapse of the Rangers and the Mariners in the final week of 2023 regular season, coupled with Abreu's dead cat bounce in the ALDS versus a mediocre Minnesota team, which was a fantastic draw, temporarily masked a lot of this stuff for 2 weeks, but it was always there. I got to say, he makes some fantastic points there. One of the reasons a lot of people wanted to get rid of Dusty Baker last season is because the Astros were not great during the regular season last year. Now, I want to be fair. The Astros had a lot of injuries last season as well. And maybe that's a point that we're not paying enough attention to. The Astros have played a lot of baseball over the last 9 seasons. Going to the ALCS 6-7 times in a row, going to the World Series 3 times. That's a lot of baseball. Have we considered that maybe this team's just fatigued, especially the pitchers? Bregman doesn't look the same. Some of the players don't really have fatigue as an excuse, but a lot of them do. And most of our major pieces have been playing a lot of postseason baseball ever since 2019, and some of them since 2017. It's something to think about. It's the same thing happened to the Warriors. You know, after going to the finals so many times, you're playing almost a whole nother season's worth of extra games compared to some of the other teams, and you just start to get worn out. So they're let me keep an eye on this score. Because if we can get 2 out of New York, that'd be great. So we've now entered the bottom of the 9th, 4-3. Hader trying to get the save. We'll keep an eye on that. It appears there's a man on second already. If anybody's watching the game, you guys can keep me updated in real time if you'd like. But maybe it's time we start asking the question. Maybe Nick wasn't so crazy when he said the Astros might be sellers at this deadline. I know if things continue to go the way that they've gone, they better be sellers at the deadline. There's no reason not to trade Bregman. If you can even get anything for him at this point. And that is a question mark. But if things don't turn around soon, you got to think about trading Verlander, maybe even Fromber. I think there's teams out there who would probably be interested in Presley. If you got a team that's either on the verge of making the playoffs or trying to bolster their roster for the postseason, maybe a change of scenery for some of these bullpen guys. Abreu, I wouldn't give up on Abreu yet. But really, it's all about what Dana Brown and Jim Crane think about this team. And that's kind of the obscure thing right now. I really don't have a firm idea of what they think this team is, but we're going to find out. The big question is, are you ready to pull the trigger on the guy that's going to bring you the biggest haul? And that's Kyle Tucker. Should the Astros trade Kyle Tucker? Me personally, I've been on record saying that I want the Astros to keep Tucker. But like I said, I don't know what the plan is. Are they going to do a soft rebuild, a hard rebuild? You're going to blow the whole thing up? I don't think you're going to blow the whole thing up because you signed Altuve to an extension, a 5-year extension. The Astros seem to think that they're, not far off from being competitive. I just don't know what the strategy is going to be. And look, man, the Yankees are a pretty decent team this season, and they had a really bad down year last season, mostly due to injury. So the Astros find themselves in a very similar place. I wish I could say as an Astros fan that I was confident in what the plan is, though. And I just want to say this, and I hate to say it, and you guys might try to pull my Houston card for this, but why is Jeff Bagwell involved in this team in any decision-making capacity? The extent of Jeff Bagwell's role on this team should be throwing out the first pitch, maybe even singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" in the 7th inning, hopefully not starting the wave. He should be in the booth every now and again, hanging out, with Todd Callis. Other than that, what on his resume warrants him making personnel decisions for this team? We all know he's the reason that Jose Abreu is here. And Jose Abreu's playing in Tyler, Texas somewhere, or whatever team they sent him to. I personally believe he's a big reason that Josh Hader is here. Speaking of Hader, he's got 2 down. And he's 1-2 on Velope. Now I'm looking at the app, so it's definitely not in real time. So you guys may have a final score already. But yeah, why is Jeff Bagwell making personnel decisions? What did you hire Dana Brown for? If Jeff Bagwell was going to be involved in personnel decisions. Jeff Bagwell was a great first baseman. He's the second Houston Astros Hall of Famer to go in the Hall of Fame as a Houston Astro. And he's beloved in this city. But he's done nothing to warrant making personnel decisions, at all. At all. And I'm not even going to harp on what he did in the postseason as a player. That has nothing to do with this. He hasn't done anything in his post-playing career to warrant him being anywhere near a GM's office or making any type of personnel decisions. And that's just the truth. But I hope that Dana Brown gets control of this team, because I still believe that he has the potential to be a very good GM. He's highly responsible for the success of the Atlanta Braves, made a lot of their personnel decisions. That's the reason he was brought here. But take the reins off of him and let him do his job. And have Jeff Bagwell sitting in the seats, shaking hands, kissing babies. Let him be, an ambassador for this team, similar to J.J. Watt, for the Texans. Have him be an ambassador, but he doesn't need to be in the front office. He just doesn't. And I'll stand by that. But it's going to be interesting to see where this team heads in the next few weeks. We will know in a few weeks what the Houston Astros believe they are. I believe they should start looking to move some pieces, though. So I would say the state of the Houston Astros currently is not good. But I'm not going to harp on that too much. I've already gotten a lot of heat for going off on the Astros. I said today, I'm not going to bash the Astros. I'm just going to say, hey, how can we get better quickly? What I will say is if you trade Kyle Tucker, that's probably your quickest way of getting some really good prospects back in return and setting yourself up for the future. I don't know if you're going to get anything for Bregman right now. Verlander's 41. You're not going to get anything great for him. Hader's making too much money and not pitching well enough, so you can't get rid of him. And Altuve is the one guy who, that's your legacy fan favorite person who's also still playing well. So you have no reason to get rid of him. So I say maybe a soft rebuild, because right now the state of the Houston Astros is not good. And but it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, let's go ahead and do the state of the Houston Rockets. All right, there are rumors of the Rockets being a possibility for an opt-in and trade to acquire Paul George. I like Paul George. He and James Harden just got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. He's given himself the moniker Playoff P, but he is not. Playoff P has not had playoff success recently, but I think he still has value. Paul George averaged 23.8 points per game this season, 5.5 rebounds, 3.7 assists. He shot 46.9% from the field and 42.3% from three. He's still a very good player. And his usage rate was like 74% for the Clippers. His usage rate, if he were a Houston Rocket, would not be that. If he's a Houston Rocket, this offense is still going through Alperen Şengün, and it's still going through Jalen Green. But could Paul George play the role of Dillon Brooks? Better than Dillon Brooks? Because Paul George is still a really good defender, and he's a much better scorer than Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks started this season insanely on fire from three-pointer, and then significantly fell off towards the end of the season. He was definitely a minus on the offensive end more times than not. So the question is, yeah, Paul George would be great on this team, but what are you giving up? There's also some rumors of the Brooklyn Nets wanting to trade with the Rockets to acquire back their first rounder this season. Sounds cool. Sounds like a great idea. Again, for what? What are we giving up? All right, so here's the only things I'm willing to trade. Brooklyn, you want your first rounder back? You got to give us Mikal Bridges. Anybody else, there's not even a conversation. I would be willing to give up the 2024 first rounder that belongs to Brooklyn. It's probably going to be the 9th pick in the draft. I would give up Tari Eason. I would give up Dillon Brooks, and I would give up Jayshawn Tate for Mikal Bridges and whoever else you got to throw in to make the salaries work. That's it. Şengün's off limits. Jalen Green is off limits. Cam Whitmore is off limits. Amen Thompson, not a chance. The only young guy, okay, maybe Jabari Smith. I forgot. I might include Jabari Smith in a trade for Mikal Bridges, but I got to get some size back as well. So I don't know if that means getting Claxton. Yeah, I forgot about Jabari Smith. I might be willing to throw in Jabari Smith to acquire Mikal Bridges. But Mikal Bridges, I mean, he's probably reached his peak. He's 30. I'm sorry, not 30. He's 27 years old. But yeah, if Mikal Bridges is not in the trade, you can hang up the phone, buddy. We don't even have a conversation right now. For Paul George, the only thing I'm willing to trade, I'll give up Brooklyn's first, Tari Eason, Dillon Brooks, or Fred VanVleet. Here's why. I'm not giving up both, though. I would trade the first rounder, Tari Eason, Jayshawn Tate, and Fred VanVleet for Paul George. Because Amen Thompson, I believe, is going to be a very good point guard. And Fred VanVleet, as much as he brought toughness, stability, leadership, veteran leader, he's not a great shooter. And I think if you want to have a not great shooter, you might as well have somebody who's got more size, and Amen Thompson, who's more athletic, who can get to the basket, who can get fouled. Amen Thompson should be the starting point guard for the Houston Rockets next season, if you can acquire somebody of the likes of Mikal Bridges or Paul George. I would throw Van Vliet in the Bridges trade too, if it was instead of Dillon Brooks. I'm not giving up Dillon Brooks and Fred VanVleet. Not this season. Maybe in two seasons from now, perhaps. The next offseason, maybe I look to trade both of them. But I need one of them on the team for this season. But yeah. You want anybody else? Sorry, there's no conversation, man. I cannot get rid of Cam Whitmore. Tari Eason's the only young guy. And, I don't know how much value he has because he's hurt every year. And he talks too much when he's not even playing. We've already gone over that. I don't know, man. The Rockets are in a very, very interesting space. I brought this up last season. They've drawn a lot of comparisons to the Oklahoma City Thunder this season. They had a better record this season than Oklahoma City did 2 years ago. They finished with 41 wins. And they have a chance. Look, Oklahoma City is the number 1 seed. And they just blew out Dallas last night in the second round of the playoffs. Not the Astros, I'm sorry. I'm still looking at the Astros game. The Astros actually win 4-3. Marciano or Marachito. How do I say his? I got to start taking my ginkgo biloba, man. Yeah, Marinaccio. Marinaccio gets the win. Hader gets the save. The Astros beat the Yankees 4-3. That's good. That's positive. Got to start somewhere, right? Anyway, but back to the Rockets. Yeah, they're in a very unique position where they can be really, really, really good next season. And that brings me to the topic of Jalen Green. He's been compared to some of the biggest stars in the league this season. He's being mentioned that he could begin to put himself in that conversation. And I believe so too. Let me start. Biased Niners fan on X, and this is courtesy of Clutch Points. Call me crazy, but Jalen Green will be just as good as Anthony Edwards next season. Dude, I'm a Rockets fan, and I'm going to call you crazy. Don't get me wrong. That would be great. But just as good as Anthony Edwards? We'll see. Edwards broke out in his 4th year, so another courtesy of Clutch Points. This came off of X as well from a gentleman by the name of Madrill. Jalen Green has turned into a near elite scorer. I can see people having the Kobe or LeBron argument about Green and Anthony Edwards in the very near future. Well, I can't say I disagree. I've told you guys, I've been on record. I believe that Jalen Green has the potential to be that good. He has all the potential to be one of the best players in the league, if not the best player. And that's why I've said you can't trade him when he hasn't even turned 23 yet. He's got way too much potential. And he had a breakout end of the year. Hopefully he carries that into next season. Hopefully becoming a father will continue to motivate him. Just be smart, young fella. Be smart, brother. But I think he has what it takes to be the best player in the league, or at least put himself in the conversation. I always said he reminded me of how Devin Booker, when he came in, great scorer, wasn't an all-around great player. And the Suns were not good teams. But in that 4th year, all of a sudden, Devin Booker figured it out. He got a good veteran in Chris Paul. Perhaps Fred VanVleet is the Chris Paul to Devin Booker's, or the Chris Paul to Jalen Green's Devin Booker. Is that how you say that? Bro, I'm tripping. Anyways, you see the comparison I'm trying to make. And Devin Booker doesn't come close to potential that Jalen Green has. Not even close. Like, Jalen Green, just out of this world athleticism, out of this world talent. He's just got to live up to it. And you know what? Honestly, I hope that he will. Really quick, I want to go back to the Texans really quick because I told you guys I wanted to show you a couple of speeches. One from our old friend, David Culley. And I want to show you compared to a D'Amico speech. And my brother told me to look at this and just see the contrast because he wants you guys, and as well as I do, he wants us to really appreciate just how far the Texans have come as an organization. Now, when they hired David Culley, I think we all knew this guy was not their plan for the future. But you know who else knew that? I think the team also knew that.
Are we locked in? You know what, though? When we first started out there tonight, we looked like we were locked in. You know, we didn't finish it like we wanted to finish it. We didn't do things like we want to do things consistently, but we did enough tonight. They do keep score, right? Bruh. And to keep score, what's the object? It's what? Win. And we did that. Yes, sir. And that's what's important tonight, okay? We'll correct the mistakes. We'll get everything done that needs to be done. But proud of you tonight. Proud of you tonight. From the time we left to the time we've got here to right now.
Huh?
On our way back, same thing. Make sure we're taking care of our business.
Texas on 3, 1, 2, 3.
He tried. But he wasn't the guy. And it wasn't the right time. He knew that, and it really felt like the team knew that too. David Culley won 4 games with a team that was trash. I didn't really like the fact that he got fired. I didn't think he was as terrible as everyone portrayed him to be. But when you see him speaking to the team, he just looked like a guy who was kind of in over his head, right? Now let me show you what a team looks like when they have a head coach they believe in.
We talked about finishing every snap, and when it goes down to the last snap, and we finish it, I love it. All right, I love it. And come on the road and beat a really good team. But guess what? We a good team. I'll give it to you one more time.
My, what a difference 3 years makes. And that's why we're so happy to have D'Amico here. That's why we're so happy to have CJ here. We're so happy to have a team that inspires belief in each other, the city. I just kicked my camera. And if you guys are listening versus watching, I'm sure you're able to hear the difference between the team responding to David Culley and the team responding to D'Amico Ryans. But that's why we're so happy to have him back. And I tell you what, man, you know, we're talking about this J.J. Watt thing. If there's one thing J.J. Watt being in that locker room would do, it would fire up the city. It would fire up the crowd. And I think that would permeate in that locker room through the players as well. But I think if he was really about it, he'd do it. I really just don't think he wants to play football. And that's okay, JJ, man. You're an all-time great. We love you. You'll be going in the Hall of Fame soon. Speaking of Hall of Fame, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show, but just a reminder that the Texans are playing in the Hall of Fame game. which happens to be no coincidence because our first Hall of Famer will be getting inducted in Andre Johnson that weekend. And I think they're playing the Cleveland Browns, if I'm not mistaken, in the Hall of Fame game. I'll have to double check on that. Haven't seen too much activity in the chat today. I got one chat from Neural Nexus, and it says Nikki. I don't know who Neural Nexus is, but not too many people know that my nickname is Nikki. So it's obviously somebody who knows me. But that's going to do it for the show tonight. I appreciate you guys so much. The Houston sports isn't really busy right now. Next week, we are going to check in on the Houston Dynamo. But right now, we're working on the Texans off season, the Rockets off season. Unfortunately, the Astros are not inspiring us to talk a whole lot of baseball right now, but that can still change. We'll see how it goes. But overall, I say the state of the union for Houston remains strong. We have a lot of optimism in two of our three major teams. And just Houston's a great sports city, man. We love our football. We love our baseball, basketball on all spectrums, not just professional, high school football, high school baseball, little league football, little league baseball. Houston's a great city, man. And that's why I love doing this podcast. It's why I was so excited to start this project. And I'm so excited to share my excitement with you. Speaking of sharing, once again, the ways you can support this show: watch, listen, wherever you get your podcast fix. I've got something for you. If you want to watch, you can watch on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, aka X. If you prefer to listen, any of the listening platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you can find me there as well. We do the show once a week. It alternates every 2 Thursdays and then every 2 Tuesdays. I believe it's the first and last weekend of the month are Thursday, and the 2 middles are Tuesday. I don't know. My work schedule changed, so I'm probably confusing you guys. I'm going to find a better way to describe that and explain that to you for sure. And I might, what I'm working on is putting out a newsletter so that I can send you guys the schedule so you know when to tune into the show at all times. Really quick, right before I started the show, I got a message from my good buddy and mentor, Ozil de Bastos, and he's giving me an opportunity to possibly be on a speaking panel next weekend at Comic Palooza at the George R. Brown Convention Center, which will be really exciting for me because I love talking about podcasting. I love sharing my experience with other podcasters. And I think that would be really cool. And it'd be a good opportunity, honestly, to network with some people and get the word out about the show. So I'm really excited about that. And Ozil, I hope that we will get an opportunity to do that together. That would be amazing. So I thank you so much for the opportunity. But if you guys, any of you fellow nerds out there, if you're going to be at Comic Palooza next weekend, I will be there Friday. Hopefully I will be there Friday if Ozil's offer stands. I will be there Friday on a speaking panel talking about the importance of networking and building a community around podcasting specifically, which is what I continue to do here, and you guys are a part of that. So once again, if you took any amount of time of your evening this evening to spend with me, I appreciate it so much. I can't thank you enough. Next week's show is going to be on Tuesday. In the meantime, I want you to stay 10 toes down for H-Town. I love you guys. We'll see you next week.
This has been the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, hosted by Nick Stevenson. Tune in next week for more news and analysis of your favorite Houston teams. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, the app formerly known as Twitter, if that's even really still a thing. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.